So, you want to bag your Nissan 370Z. Hello and welcome to another video. Okay, first of all, I know this car is very familiar to most of you in the Philippines. Yes, this was Alex Banawe Boy's old 370Z. Yes, you're right, he already sold the car, and I think I will be the first one to tell the social media people that it is iba na may-ari nito. The car has been sold to our gentleman na old client natin as well. Siya yung sa catalog natin ng So You Want to Bag Your Montero Gen 2 as well. So, if you want to watch that video, check it out. If you want to check Alex Lim, Banawe Boys channel, check them out as well. But for now, we're not going to discuss all of those. We are going to discuss the 370Z. So, it's been a long time coming. Ito ay kotse na gusto kong makakuha as a catalog kasi this is actually very similar to my Lexus IS350 na nabenta ko na rin sa client ko naman din. So, this is actually very, very similar to that car, being that it has the same suspension type sa unahan at sa likod, and they are both V6 engines. They are, you know, basically the same characteristic or type of car in all sense. So this was the car na gusto ko rin bilhin dati before the IS350. But nonetheless, this car has some quirks to it, has very underrated suspension. It's a two-door coupe, so syempre hatchback siya. So we'll be using a different type of system for this car para hindi maingay. And yeah, it has T37 Ultras na maganda. Tamang-tama ang fitment. So Alex Banawe Boy, if you watch his channel, he already did a lot of stuff to this car. And it's been a long time coming. Okay, I also wanted this car to be bagged. He just got this car last year and he said goodbye to it in a year as well. So yeah, come along. If you want to know more about the car suspension, listen up, like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for the notification, and we'll be diving into the technical details ng kotseng ito. So it's gonna get very technical and educational, so strap in your thinking hats. I'll be needing your ears for this. So let's go dive into the suspension part of this video. Hello and welcome to our front suspension ng ating Nissan 370Z. This is actually a double wishbone suspension right out of the bat. This is actually a wishbone suspension similar to the GTR. Actually, it's really similar to the GTR, and it's also all aluminum yung mga suspension arms natin. So you can see, they're all aluminum. Our airbags are right there. He's running Dynamics coilovers from our good friend Alex. Obviously, kotse ni Alex dati. So just normal to see Dynamics na coilovers. So you can see green. Medyo lime green yung kulay. That's the iconic Dynamics color. Our airbag is right there. Okay? And we have a coilover setup na kinonvert natin to air springs. The double wishbone ng ating 370Z na Nissan is actually a auto camber sa unahan. So that will actually camber in your suspension. This is very similar to our Lexus IS350 dati. Really underrated suspension sa unahan. When your car has this type of suspensions, it means that hindi tinipid yung kotse. Another thing na magandang i-discuss sa kotseng ito is that pag naka-double wishbone suspension ka sa unahan, you don't actually have to worry about the bags rotating on its axis. As you may, if you're an avid viewer, I always say na yun nga, ang problema sa air sus ay pag McPherson strut yung suspension sa unahan, we'll have problems with the shocks rotating. Pero since ito ay wishbone suspension, the wishbone suspension does not rotate. Okay? The shocks stay in place. Okay? Dito tayo nagsuswivel sa ball joint na ito. Yun yung maganda sa wishbone suspension. So, nothing much to discuss. Yun lang naman ang gusto kong sabihin sa unahan. Other than that, medyo masikip tayo sa unahan nga pala. So we have to use slim bags. Have to be worried about that as well. So other than that, everything looks good naman. Naka-aftermarket steel braided brake lines na to. So what else? That's it. Wala naman masyadong concern. Let's move on to the back side of the car and let's discuss the rear suspension. Alright, hello and welcome to the rear suspension ng ating Nissan 370Z. Right out of the bat, talagang kaparehas siya ng kamukha talaga ng GTR. So as you can see, divorce suspension tayo, sa GTR hindi. Pero the way the shock is actually installed on the knuckle, nandito rin sa GTR. This is actually a independent rear suspension design at ayun yung ating spring or air spring natin in this case. So, maluwag naman sa likod compared to other cars like Lexus at Mercedes-Benz. This is actually really nice for the installer to just put in the bag. As you can see, sobrang luwag sa ilalim ng ating control arm. Wala talaga siyang sasabitan. So that is something lang naman na kailangan mo tandaan pag magkakabit ka ng airbag sa mga ganitong kotse is pag divorce is usually there's a lot of links na malapit dun sa bag like stab links, axles, tow arms, lahat ng mga arm na yon posibleng tumama sa bag at mag-rub at mag-puncture. Pero this is not the case for this car. And yeah, maluwag siya for a divorce suspension na independent rear suspension na wishbone. Okay? So, that is something na kailangan natin i-note for this car. But nonetheless, underrated suspension din siya kasi yun nga, as you may have followed the track of this suspension discussion, wishbone suspension sa unahan, wishbone suspension sa likod, auto-camber sa unahan, auto-camber sa likod, and that will actually translate to a very nice riding car. No joke, no bias. Pag ganito suspension type ng kotse mo, and you can see all aluminum yung mga components niya. Aluminum lower control arm, aluminum wishbone, aluminum knuckles. That is something na makikita mo na hindi tinipid sa kotse. So if ang ganyan ng kotse mo ay aluminum, ang suspensions ng kotse mo ay aluminum, maganda yung kotse mo, hindi siya tinipid. But pag bakal yan, it's another story. But that is going to be for another video. For now, this is our suspension layout for the rear suspension ng ating 370Z. Very, very underrated. Kudos to Nissan for this type of suspensions. Let's move on to the back side where we will actually discuss the system, where the tank is, and what type of system that he used for this car. So we're going to discuss that in a bit. So let's go. Alright, hello and welcome sa trunk layout or well, hatchback layout natin sa 370Z na ito. Let's actually move this panel muna before we start the discussion so we can actually show you in depth para may konti tayong lighting. I'm gonna go to the other side. As you may have guessed by the design of the tank, he actually used a Endo CVT kasi nga hatchback ito. It's a two-door coupe. So if we actually use the traditional na setup for this car, wala, bingi yung driver at yung pasahero niya. So I really like the design for this car. It's all black lang. We actually opted for our powder-coated black Endo CVT. Okay? From AccuAir, converted to adapt to a Fitment engineering management system on the side. The compressors are inside the tank. The valves are actually the caps of the tank, yung dalawang gilid. Yung yon at saka yun ang valve. So this is actually giving us a seamless design. As you can see, the driver is right there and it's right behind the air suspension. So kung maingay yan, bingi yung driver. Pati yung pasahero. Nonetheless, the boys were actually very, very keen on making this car look clean kasi ang request na may-ari is gandahan daw natin. Okay? So, Banawi boy, Alex, this is what it should have been if you actually aired this car before. Pero, it's okay. It's on good hands now. The new owner's really hyped for this. We actually was waiting for this car to be bagged for a long time. So, yeah. This is actually the setup. As you can see, konti lang yung kinain ng space. That is the key factor ng Endo CVT. It's actually less clutter and less noise. So, he has his cargo space, lahat okay, malinis pa rin. Keeping that trend for the clean car na lumalabas sa mga kotse na Alex. So, yun. Let's drop the car actually and let's discuss the outro for this car. And we can actually discuss the other car as well, the Nismo. So, yeah. See you in a bit. Hello and welcome to the outro ng kotse. As we discussed kanina, the front is a wishbone suspension loaded with aluminum parts. The rear is a wishbone independent rear suspension divorced, loaded with aluminum parts. As you can see, I am now discussing how underrated this car is. For the amount of money you can spend on this car, you'll be getting a lot of what the car is. I always value the car sa suspension ng kotse. If the suspension is aluminum, wishbone suspension, independent, auto-camber, alam kong hindi tinipid yung kotse because those are a lot of moving parts. And if you have a simplified version of those suspension, it means that your car was cheaped out. In my opinion, okay? Hindi naman lahat, ibig sabihin, not like Porsches. They have McPherson struts, di ba? But that is for another discussion and video. We are here to discuss the dynamics of the car. This is a 370Z. Very, very iconic, okay? It was actually the next for the 350Z and of course the Nismo models and such. If you want to know more about that, Banawe Boy actually covered that for you guys. He compared his Z to a Nismo. So check that out. But for now, let's actually start the car and let's actually see the dynamics ng kotse. Of course, we want to see that. How does it travel? Does it race up really high? Does it drop? Well, it drops really low. So tingnan natin. Shoutout nga pala kay Alex. Dynamics coilover sila may-ari nun. This car is actually rocking that one as well. So let's actually raise up the car. Let's actually raise up the front and rear. Okay. So, medyo kapos pa tayo sa hangin. Let's actually discuss something before everything else. He's actually running on the TE37 Ultra. This is 20s, no? 20s. Ano bang specs natin dito? For sure, 8.5, 9.5. 9.5, 10.5 daw, sabi ng owners right in front of me. So, while the car is charging up, I'm going to actually connect to the phone. And then, yeah. So, double wishbone suspension, auto camber, harap, likod. So, that's actually going to translate to a very nice riding car. Bakit ko lagi sinasabi yun? Sinasabi ko yun kasi, when you have an auto camber, the damping of the car is actually not upward and downward lang. May hinihila niya yung momentum paloob. That's why those types of cars like Lexus, they tend to ride really nice. And this car is not an exception. They tend to ride really nice talaga. So you have to take my word for it. This car rides well. It's very similar to my Lexus, so no-brainer para sa akin yun. But you guys have to believe me. Okay, around sa front side ng kotse, sorry, na-air out ko ng konti. We have 4 fingers, not fully pressurized, but that's actually very usable height na. Kita mo naman sa unahan. Okay? So, we can actually raise it up more para lumuwag, pero that's 4 fingers. Sa likod naman, we have around 3 fingers of clearance because mas maliit ang wheel well sa likod, and they both are auto camber. So, I'm going to go out of the frame for a while, and let's actually drop the car. As you can see, ito ang gusto ko sa coaching to, halos sabay bumababa yung anahan at likod, not like some other cars, nauna yung likod sa harap, nauna yung harap sa likod. So, yeah, let's actually turn off the car so we can actually get more. So that is the dynamics of the car. This is the 370Z, okay? You can get your hands on one of these nowadays. It's actually a best bang for your buck. Very nice engine, V6. Sounds like a GTR. Rides like a Lexus. Yun yung gusto ko sabihin. Sounds like a GTR and rides like a Lexus. It's a best combination for a daily commuter and a coupe for a stroller sa highways, long drives. Just want to have fun on a Sunday morning or a fun run in the evening. This car is actually great, okay? Albeit, with all of those parts and engine, it adds some weight to the car, but still, you're not buying it for total speed. You're driving it for the cruiser experience or the cruising experience of the car. So, for stunts naman, okay, is the 370 good for air suspension? Hell yeah. Sobrang ganda nung sa harapan. Hindi naikot ang shocks. Auto camber pa siya. Sa likod, maluwag din. Despite being an independent rear suspension na may multi-link na mga arms, maluwag siya sa likod. Napakadaling ginawa to. 7 days dapat ginawa lang namin ng ilang araw. So this catalog is good for you guys. If you have a 350Z as well, it's going to be similar. Actually, same ang pang-ilalim ng 350Z at ng 370Z or Z, whatever you want to call it. But for now, that is the 370Z. So you want to bag your 370Z. If you have one, this is it for you. Napaka-straightforward ng kotse. Sobrang daling gamitin, gawin at gamitin. And yeah, overall, really happy. For now, I'll be seeing more of this car as the new owner will be doing more stuff. Actually, pagkabili ng may-ari, kinabukasan, pina-airsus na niya kasi nga, sobrang baba ng fitment ni Alex dati. But nonetheless, vlog na lang natin some other time. The video is getting long. Hope you enjoyed that video and hope that actually helped you know more about the 370's under chassis and how underrated it is. Who knows, baka makatulong to sa mga naghahanap. This is something to look for, okay? For now, that's going to be it. Please like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for a notification. And our catalog is growing and growing and growing. Hope to do more cars like these. As you can see, sa ulong sa ulo ko na format ng video na ito. So, on that note, it's been Cal from Fitment Engineering and you're watching Fitment TV. So you want to bag your car. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.